Dr. Jaiwo Park rubbed her tired eyes and reached for her coffee mug, only to find it empty. 4 hours into her overnight shift at the Taejun Deep Space Observatory, and she was already on her third cup. She glanced at the clock, 3:18 a.m., then back at her monitor where a strange pattern of signals had appeared again. "There you are," she whispered, leaning closer to study the repeating sequence. For 3 weeks now, the same signal had appeared precisely at 3:17 a.m., lasting exactly 12 minutes before disappearing. Her colleagues had dismissed it as random cosmic noise or equipment malfunction, but Jaiwo knew better. Random noise didn't follow patterns, and malfunctioning equipment didn't produce the same exact sequence night after night. She quickly began recording the transmission, her fingers flying across the keyboard to run it through various analysis programs she had written specifically for this phenomenon. The signal consisted of rhythmic pulses, too regular, too structured to be natural. The observatory door opened, letting in a blast of cold night air along with Dr. Taeho Kim, her research assistant who wasn't scheduled to arrive for another 3 hours. "You're early," Jaiwo said without looking up. "Couldn't sleep," Taeho replied, shaking snow from his coat. "Thought I might as well come in," and he stopped when he saw her screen. "It's back?" "Right on schedule." Jaiwo motioned him over. "Look at this pattern. It's repeating, but with subtle variations in each cycle." Taeho set down his bag and peered over her shoulder. "Almost like language," they said in unison. For the next week, Jaiwo and Taeho worked nearly around the clock, analyzing the mysterious signal. They brought in Minji Lee, a linguist who had done groundbreaking work in pattern recognition, and Do-Hyun Kang, a mathematician whose algorithms had revolutionized data analysis. The small team converted a storage room into their headquarters, walls covered with printouts of signal patterns and mathematical formulas. They took turns napping on a worn couch in the corner, too excited by their discovery to waste time going home. "There are mathematical constants embedded in the signal," Do-Hyun announced on the 5th day, pointing to a series of numbers on his tablet. "Pi, the square root of 2, the golden ratio, they're all here, but arranged in a sequence I've never seen before." Minji nodded excitedly. "And look at this recurring pattern, it's too complex to be random, but follows rules similar to grammar. I think we're looking at an artificial signal. Not from Earth." The room fell silent as the implication sank in. "We need better equipment," Jaiwo decided. "And more computing power." They convinced the observatory director to give them access to the main radio telescope array and the facility's most powerful computers. For 2 more weeks, they worked in shifts, refining their analysis and slowly beginning to make sense of the transmission. "I think I've got something," Minji said one afternoon, her voice shaking slightly. "There are coordinates embedded in the signal. Spatial coordinates." Using Do-Hyun's algorithms, they translated the coordinates into a 3-dimensional map. The results were shocking. It's a traffic route," Taeho said in disbelief. "A path through our solar system." Further analysis revealed more details. The signal wasn't directed at Earth specifically, it was an automated warning broadcast, alerting ships about navigation hazards along what appeared to be a well-established travel route that passed through the outer edges of Earth's solar system. "We're picking up their equivalent of a road sign," Do-Hyun explained. "Like construction ahead or detour next exit." But the most startling discovery came when they analyzed Earth's own radio and television broadcasts over the past several decades. "Our signals have been interfering with their navigation warnings," Jaiwo realized, pointing to a simulation on her screen. "All our broadcasts, radio shows, TV programs, satellite communications, they've been bleeding into their communication channels." Taeho laughed nervously. "So we've been essentially spray painting graffiti over an interstellar highway sign?" "Worse," Minji replied. "Based on these patterns, our reality TV shows have been drowning out important safety information for who knows how many travelers." That night, as the team discussed their findings, a new alert sounded from their monitoring system. The signal had changed dramatically, it was stronger, more complex, and clearly directed at Earth this time. "They know we're here," Do-Hyun whispered. Jaiwo stared at the scrolling data, equal parts terrified and thrilled. "And they're coming to see who's been messing with their signs." The world changed on a Tuesday morning. Astronomers at observatories across Earth detected a large object decelerating near Jupiter's orbit. Within hours, the mysterious vessel had moved closer, positioning itself between Mars and Earth. "It's definitely artificial," Tejo said, his voice hushed as he studied the telescope images. The object was sleek and metallic, roughly the size of a naval destroyer, with strange geometric patterns etched across its surface. Dr. Jaiwo Park hadn't slept in 36 hours. She stood frozen before the main monitor, coffee forgotten in her hand. "They received our message." 3 days earlier, after decoding the mysterious signals as navigation warnings, Jaiwo's team had sent a response, a simple mathematical sequence followed by basic information about Earth and humanity. They never expected such a rapid reply. News of the alien vessel spread quickly despite government attempts to control the information. Stock markets plummeted. Religious leaders called emergency meetings. Military forces worldwide went on high alert. At the White House, generals and advisors crowded the Situation Room. "We need to show strength," insisted General Harris, pounding his fist on the table. "I recommend immediate missile deployment." The president looked grim. "And start an interstellar war we can't possibly win?" At the Taejeon Observatory, Jaiwo's team worked frantically to establish proper communication before humanity did something catastrophically stupid. "We've received a new transmission," Minji announced, her fingers flying across the keyboard. It's a landing notification." Do-Hyun translated the coordinates. "They're planning to land near our observatory in 6 hours." Panic erupted worldwide as military satellites confirmed the vessel had dispatched a smaller craft heading toward Earth. Fighter jets scrambled to intercept but were ordered to monitor only. No one wanted to provoke the visitors. Government officials arrived at the observatory, along with military personnel and a hastily assembled diplomatic team. They transformed the facility's parking lot into an improvised landing zone, surrounding it with barricades and security checkpoints. Jaiwo fought to maintain control of first contact. "Our team decoded their language. We should be the ones to greet them." After heated arguments, officials agreed that Jaiwo's team would stand at the front of the reception committee, with armed forces maintaining a respectful distance. The landing craft descended precisely at sunset, hovering silently before settling onto the asphalt with remarkable grace. For several minutes, nothing happened. Camera crews from around the world broadcast live, their lenses fixed on the smooth, featureless hull. Then, with a soft hiss, a door appeared and slid open. 3 figures emerged. They walked upright on 2 legs, but their bodies were covered in what looked like natural armor plating. The tallest wore elaborate insignia across its chest. "I am Commander Ryu of the Imperial Enforcement Division," the tall figure announced through a device at its throat. The voice sounded mechanical but clearly understandable. "This planet has been interfering with official routing communications." Jaiwo stepped forward despite protocol. "I'm Dr. Jaiwo Park. We recently discovered your navigation signals. The interference was unintentional." The alien regarded her with large, faceted eyes. "You are responsible for the transmissions?" "Not personally," Jaiwo explained. "Our species has been broadcasting various signals into space for decades without realizing they were causing problems." Commander Ryu consulted a device on his wrist. "Your transmissions contain unusual content. Much of it appears deliberately false or nonsensical." Tejo suppressed a smile. "You may have encountered our entertainment programs." This seemed to confuse the aliens. The 2 officers behind Commander Ryu exchanged glances. "Entertainment?" one asked. "You broadcast falsehoods intentionally?" "Stories," Minji explained. "Fictional narratives for enjoyment." The aliens' reaction made it clear this concept was utterly foreign to them. Commander Ryu raised a hand-like appendage. "We must assess your civilization's development level and interference potential. We will require access to your information systems and cultural records." The government officials looked alarmed, but Jaiwo nodded. "We can share our knowledge and history. Would you like to come inside?" As they led the aliens into the observatory, military personnel tightened their grips on their weapons. The second alien, who introduced herself as Officer Hannah, noticed and tilted her head. Your species appears concerned. Is aggression your natural state? No, Jaiwoo said quickly. We're just nervous. You're our first visitors from another world. Commander Ryu paused. You have had no prior contact with other civilizations? When Jaiwoo confirmed this, the aliens exchanged what might have been surprised looks. This complicates matters, Commander Ryu said. According to Imperial protocol, uncontacted species require special handling. He activated his wrist device again. I must inform the Imperial fleet that we have encountered an isolated pre-integration civilization. As night fell on Earth's first official encounter with alien life, Jaiwoo couldn't shake the feeling that their visitors seemed less impressed and more concerned with each passing minute. The conference room at the observatory had been transformed into a makeshift diplomatic center. Commander Ryu and his two officers, Hannah and Juno, sat stiffly on one side of the table while Jaiwoo and her team occupied the other. Government officials hovered nervously in the background. Please explain why humans broadcast images of people living in false situations, Commander Ryu requested, his translator device giving his words a flat tone. Jaiwoo glanced at Minji before answering. We call it entertainment. People enjoy watching stories about imaginary events. The three aliens exchanged looks that seemed to convey confusion, though it was hard to read their expressions. You deliberately create falsehoods for enjoyment? Officer Hannah asked, her head tilted to one side. It's not about falsehoods, Taeho jumped in. It's about creativity and imagination. Stories help us explore ideas and emotions. Commander Ryu made a note on his device. And these reality programs where humans deliberately create conflict and emotional distress? No one had a good answer for that one. The cultural exchange continued for hours. The aliens showed particular interest in human humor, which seemed to baffle them completely. When Dohyan made a simple joke about an astronaut and a physicist walking into a bar, Officer Juno asked why anyone would find physical injury amusing. No, Dohyan explained, it's not about injury. It's wordplay. Bar has multiple meanings. Deliberate linguistic confusion is entertainment? Officer Juno asked. Sometimes, Minji said with a smile. Humor often comes from unexpected connections or surprises. To demonstrate, Taeho pulled up some popular internet memes on his tablet. The aliens stared in what appeared to be growing alarm. These images are manipulated to contain false information, Commander Ryu noted. Why? For fun, Taeho said simply. The confusion reached its peak when the aliens requested examples of human communication methods. Minji showed them social media, explaining how people shared thoughts, images, and videos. Commander Ryu actually took a step backward when shown a TikTok dance challenge. Your species communicates through synchronized physical movements? Not exactly, Jaiwoo said. That's just for fun. Fun, interrupted Officer Hannah, seemingly frustrated by this recurring concept. You use this word frequently. In our culture, activities serve clear purposes: efficiency, knowledge acquisition, resource management, reproduction, or biological maintenance. Don't you ever do things just because they make you happy? Minji asked. The aliens appeared disturbed by the question. After a lunch break, during which the aliens consumed nutrient capsules while watching in apparent horror as humans ate sandwiches with obvious enjoyment, Commander Ryu requested to observe normal human interactions. This led to a walk through the nearby town. The aliens documented everything with their wrist devices: children playing in a park, teenagers taking selfies, an elderly couple holding hands, a street musician playing guitar. That human is producing sound patterns without informational content, Officer Juno noted about the musician. It's music, Jaiwoo explained. The sounds evoke emotions. You communicate emotions deliberately? Commander Ryu asked. This is highly irregular. The situation grew more confusing when they passed a movie theater. The poster for a new comedy showed a man with an exaggerated facial expression. This human appears to be experiencing facial muscle malfunction, Officer Hannah observed. He's laughing, Taeho explained. It's an expression of amusement. The physical manifestation of humor involves facial contortions? Commander Ryu made more notes. Fascinating and concerning. The final cultural challenge came when they returned to the observatory. A young intern, unaware of the delicate diplomatic situation, greeted Teiho with sarcasm. "Oh great, you brought the aliens to our secret base." Smart move. Before anyone could explain, Commander Ryu's posture changed dramatically. "You claimed this was not a military installation. Why would your colleague reference it as a secret base?" "It's sarcasm," Jaiwoo said quickly. Saying the opposite of what's true for humorous effect. All three aliens froze in what could only be described as stunned silence. "Your species deliberately inverts truth values in casual communication?" Officer Juno finally asked. "Sometimes," Minji admitted. "It's a form of humor." Commander Ryu turned to his officers and made a series of clicking sounds in their native language. They replied with similar clicks, gesturing toward the humans. "We must complete our assessment," Commander Ryu announced suddenly. "We will return to our vessel to prepare our report." As they walked away, Jaiwoo overheard Officer Hana say quietly to Commander Ryu, "Preliminary classification, pre-rational species with dangerous technological development. Possible mass cognitive dysfunction." Jaiwoo felt a chill run down her spine. This first contact was not going well at all. The small team huddled around Do-Hyen's computer terminal, their faces illuminated by the blue light of the screen. After 3 days of intensive work, he had managed to hack into the Imperial communication system using patterns discovered in their transmissions. "I've got it," Do-Hyen whispered, his fingers flying across the keyboard. "Their security protocols are advanced but predictable. They use mathematical sequences as verification keys." Jaiwoo leaned forward, her heart racing. "Can you access their report about us?" "Almost there." Do-Hyen muttered, navigating through alien data structures with remarkable speed. "Yes. I'm in." The screen filled with strange symbols that slowly transformed into readable text as his translation algorithm processed them. The room fell silent as they began to read Commander Ryu's official assessment of humanity. "Species assessment, humans, Terra/Earth," Minji read aloud. "Classification, pre-integration civilization with dangerous technological advancement rate. Recommended action, quarantine solar system for minimum 500 standard cycles." 500 years? Teiho's voice cracked. "They want to isolate us for 5 centuries? Jaiwoo continued reading. "Species exhibits erratic behavior patterns, including but not limited to, deliberate communication of false information for entertainment, social acceptance of linguistic deception, sarcasm, emotional response prioritization over logical assessment, and widespread consumption of mind-altering substances for non-medical purposes." "They think we're insane," Minji said quietly. "It gets worse," Do-Hyen pointed to another paragraph. "Their assessment concludes that humanity represents a developmental anomaly, a species that achieved technological advancement before resolving critical cognitive dysfunctions." The report detailed the Imperial Committee's concerns. Humanity's history of warfare, environmental damage, and social conflicts suggested a fundamentally unstable species. More concerning to the committee was humanity's unpredictability, their apparent enjoyment of chaos, surprise, and emotional stimulation. "The final recommendation is to establish a containment field around our solar system," Jaiwoo summarized. "No contact with other civilizations until we either destroy ourselves or evolve beyond our chaotic developmental phase." The team sat in stunned silence. Their first contact with an advanced alien civilization was about to end with Earth being cut off from the galactic community before they'd even properly joined it. "We need to change their minds," Teiho said finally. "They're arriving tomorrow to confirm the assessment. We have less than 24 hours. Minji paced the room. "But how? They see everything that makes us human as flaws. They don't understand humor, creativity, or emotion." "Maybe that's our answer," Jaiwoo said slowly, a plan forming in her mind. "They see our differences as weaknesses. We need to show them they're actually strengths." Through the night, the team worked frantically. They called friends, colleagues, and contacts around the world, explaining the situation and requesting help. By morning, they had assembled a remarkable collection of human achievements, not just scientific and technological, but artistic, cultural, and social. Government officials were skeptical when Jaiwoo presented her plan. "You want to show them comedy?" the defense minister asked incredulously. "When they're about to quarantine our entire planet? They misunderstand humanity fundamentally," Jaiwoo insisted. "They see our humor, creativity, and emotional complexity as signs of mental dysfunction. We need to demonstrate that these qualities are actually our greatest strengths." After heated debate, officials reluctantly agreed, largely because they had no better ideas. The next morning, Jaiwoo received word that the Imperial High Verification Committee had arrived. A larger ship had joined Commander Ryu's vessel in orbit, and a delegation was preparing to descend to Earth to confirm his assessment. "They're sending Senior Inspector Kiwo," Minji reported, reading from Do-hyen's hacked feed. "Apparently, he's never reversed an initial assessment in 300 years of service." Jaiwoo felt her stomach tighten. Then he's due for a first time. As they prepared the observatory's main hall for the presentation, Taeho approached Jaiwoo with concern in his eyes. "What if this makes things worse?" he asked quietly. "What if showing them more of our chaotic nature convinces them we're even more dangerous?" Jaiwoo considered this for a moment. "Then at least we'll have been true to ourselves. I'd rather be quarantined for being human than accepted for pretending to be something we're not." The team made final adjustments to their presentation as monitors showed the Imperial shuttle entering Earth's atmosphere. Jaiwoo looked around at her colleagues, all exhausted but determined. "Remember," she told them, "they think our emotional responses and creativity are flaws. We need to show them that empathy, humor, and imagination are what make us special, not just among humans, but perhaps in the entire galaxy." The landing bay doors opened. 7 Imperial officials in formal attire entered, led by Senior Inspector Kiwo, tall, imposing, and radiating bureaucratic authority. "We are here to confirm the planetary assessment," he announced without greeting. "Please present any final evidence for consideration before quarantine protocols are initiated." The observatory's main hall had been transformed overnight. Screens lined the walls, comfortable chairs had been arranged for the Imperial visitors, and a small stage stood at the front. Senior Inspector Kiwo and 6 other Imperial officials sat stiffly, their expressions unreadable as they waited for the presentation to begin. "Thank you for this opportunity," Jaiwoo began, standing before them with remarkably steady hands. "Before you make your final decision about Earth, we would like to show you what makes humanity unique in the universe." Senior Inspector Kiwo made a small gesture with his hand. "Proceed. Though I must inform you that Commander Ryu's assessment has been thorough. Reversals are extremely rare." Jaiwoo nodded to Do-hyen, who started the presentation. The lights dimmed, and the first images appeared on the main screen. Earth's greatest scientific achievements, from early tools to modern computers, from the wheel to spacecraft. "Impressive technological progress for your development stage," noted one official, though quite chaotic and inefficient. The next segment showcased human art through the ages, cave paintings to Renaissance masterpieces to modern digital creations. The Imperial officials watched with polite attention but showed no real reaction. "Interesting use of resources for non-practical purposes," commented another official. Minji stepped forward for the next section. "We'd like to show you something we call music." A symphony began to play as images of orchestras appeared on screen. The officials tilted their heads, listening carefully. "Organized sound patterns," observed Senior Inspector Kiwo. "We have similar communication methods, though yours seem unnecessarily complex." The team exchanged worried glances. Nothing was working. The officials remained unmoved by everything that made humanity special. "Time for the final segment," Taeho whispered to Jaiwoo. "It's all or nothing now." Jaiwoo took a deep breath and addressed the committee again. "There is one more aspect of humanity we'd like to share with you. Something we value greatly, our sense of humor." Senior Inspector Kiwo consulted his notes. "Ah yes, the deliberate creation of falsehoods and linguistic confusion that Commander Ryu reported." "It's much more than that," Jaiwoo explained. Humor helps us cope with life's challenges. It brings us together. And sometimes, it helps us see truth more clearly than serious discussion ever could. The screens lit up with a carefully curated collection of the funniest moments in human history, classic comedy skits, perfectly timed physical comedy, clever wordplay, and spontaneous moments of pure joy. The presentation had been designed to start with simple visual humor that required no cultural context to understand. At first, the imperial officials maintained their stoic expressions. But then something remarkable happened. A clip played of a dignified professor being interrupted by his children barging into his room during a live television interview. Senior Inspector Kiwa's face twitched slightly. This was followed by a montage of people slipping on ice but recovering with dramatic, accidental grace. One of the younger officials made a strange sound, something between a cough and a chirp. Then came a series of clips showing animals stealing food with remarkable cleverness, babies laughing at simple peekaboo games, and elders pulling pranks on younger people. The chirping sound spread among the officials. The final clip showed a compilation of contagious laughter, people from around the world, from different cultures and backgrounds, laughing so hard they couldn't speak, their joy spreading to everyone around them. Senior Inspector Kiwa's face contorted. He placed a hand over his mouth, his shoulders shaking. The other officials looked at him in alarm, then back at the screen where the laughter continued. One by one, they began to make strange chirping sounds that grew louder and more rhythmic. They were laughing, actually laughing. What is happening? Senior Inspector Kiwo gasped between fits of chirping laughter. I cannot stop this physical response. It's called laughter, Jaiwu explained, smiling. It's contagious among humans too. The officials tried to regain their composure, but every time they looked at each other, the strange chirping laughter would start again. In 12,000 years of imperial records, one official managed to say, there has never been a documented case of spontaneous group vocalization during an assessment. Senior Inspector Kiwo finally regained enough control to speak. Your species, he paused, fighting another wave of chirps, experiences reality in a manner unlike any we have encountered. This response you call laughter is most unusual. The committee members conferred briefly in their clicking language, occasionally breaking into more chirps. We have reached a new conclusion, Senior Inspector Kiwu announced. Humanity will not be quarantined. Instead, we will create a new classification, Galactic Entertainment Specialists. Limited trade and cultural exchange will be permitted, with special focus on this humor phenomenon. 6 months later, Dr. Jaiwo Park arrived at the Imperial Central Hub as Earth's first ambassador. Her official title, Chief Interpreter of Human Humor. Her diplomatic bag contained thousands of jokes, comedy films, and funny stories, humanity's most unique contribution to the galaxy. Her first official duty? Explaining to a confused alien diplomat why a chicken would cross a road.